Yo crew, welcome back to the channel. Today you will see is Christmas. As you see on screen, we have the Diablo 4 pre-season 1 patch notes that has been released. And it's a doozy. So what we're going to do, we're going to jump right in. First thing we're going to do, we're going to check the general gameplay improvements they've made because they're absolutely incredible and will change the way you play straight away. So it has been live since yesterday evening, so you might already have had a chance to test, but we're going to run through it in any case. Then we will check what everybody's waiting for, the character updates, because they've been buffing absolutely every class and there's a lot to say. I'm going to skip through the bug fixes and the gameplay fixes because as much as they're really interesting and great updates, I think there's a lot to say and I don't want to bore you for an hour. So I strongly advise you to run through the entire list. They've really made a lot of changes. They're all great. The point is really to smoothen out the way the game is right now. And I really believe they've made a great job out of it. They've obviously listened to the feedback that was given to them. So in any case, let's start with the gameplay adjustments because you're going to see they are already unbelievable. So, experience rewards significantly increased the experience awarded for completing Nightmare Dungeons. So this is probably where we need to take a moment, breathe, and be happy. So you know how we've all been saying like it's too much, like the experience was crazy. I have been running Nightmare Dungeons for the last month, day on, night off, like whatever you want. I've been there all day long, and I am level 84 right now. So I'm not saying you can't reach or that nobody's done it. Obviously you can reach level 100, but the experience was just unbelievable. So I've tried it since yesterday. We've run a series of dungeons. It works on all of them. The only thing I need to check, but it seems to be confirmed. Like we were really trying to test it out. What we've seen yesterday is that not only is the experience increased unbelievable, you will see like I would say you approach 45% to 50% of a Paragon node per dungeon, at least around level 85 again. Which is crazy. And what I was saying is it seems that they even removed the level cap, which means the higher Nightmare Dungeon level you go in, the more experience you get. We've had some where it really felt like a 60% of the Paragon node, but it's a bit hard to tell depending on the number of monsters, the dungeon, etc. So still to be confirmed, but if that's the case, like make sure you group up with a couple level 100s and just run through a few dungeons. You'll burst through your levels. It's unbelievable. In any case, even if it's not the case, normal nightmares of your level will already completely divide the time you will need to reach a level 100. It's I would say right now we're about 2 dungeons of your level to do a Paragon node, which before was more like 10 to 15. So that's just unbelievable. My advice, enjoy it while it lasts. I strongly believe they're doing this to increase the number of end game characters, so level 100s, because it was up until now very time consuming, and so there weren't many level 100s, and I think they want to make sure to keep the players that have reached that level, so they wanted to just make sure the community grows as fast as possible. But my take is this is not going to last. This is probably a 1 week thing, or maybe a couple weeks at most, just to make sure they get a few tens of thousands of level 100s that reach that before the start of season 1, and then XP will go back to normal. I mean, right now it's just not possible. Like it's a different game at this point. I've run maybe 15 dungeons and did already 2 levels, which is crazy. Okay, moving on. So significantly increased the experience gained from killing monsters in Nightmare Dungeon. So same thing here, both cumulated reaches what I explained. Helltide chest now provides substantially more bonus experience when open. So that was actually a surprise to read this. I had not realized that Helltide chest included experience. So we went to try it out, and yeah, okay, it does give experience. Now, I think, again, the message is pretty clear. Like they're trying to find ways to boost you up to level 100. So I guess Hell Tides are a good option. They've always been one, especially in terms of reward. It's very easy to fill up your entire inventory from Ancestrals in just one round of a Hell Tide. So now you'll get even more experience from that. So it really pushes the Hell Tide forward, which I think is a great thing, especially since they mix with PvP events, which can make it a bit more challenging. And I think that's always good for in-game players. So significantly increased rewarded experience from completing individual whispers across the board. Great, I don't think there's much to add here, it's pretty self-explanatory. Fixed an issue where no experience was awarded for completing the holdout style event that can occur after finishing dungeon objectives. Again, great fix. General, so the Helltide roaming bosses will now more consistently drop higher quality loot. So that's something, actually, we've tried it out too. I would not only say this is completely true, but it's probably a little OP at the moment. Every one of us, so we did only one, we might have gotten very lucky, but the entire group, there was 4 of us, got 4 Ancestrals from a roaming boss, all of us. So yeah, again, that might be an issue that they're going to change. I don't know if it's on purpose. If it is, just make sure you go there. That was crazy. Players can now teleport to their Nightmare dungeon directly through the map. So okay, major alert here. It changes everything. So you know how we've all been complaining about how the mounts are complicated, they're bugging, they're slow, the map is not really made to just roam around, like it wasn't smooth at all. Well, that's solved. There is still a little issue, which I want to point out. When you do teleport to the dungeon, you'll teleport in front of the dungeon, which for console players doesn't really solve the problem of those loading screens that are like extremely elongated compared to PC players. But at least you can skip through the mount part, which was just the biggest pain, I guess. So in any case, great update. Thank you for listening, Blizzard. Like, thank you so much. This is so going in the right way. Then next one, another great update. The weekly bonus caches have now been, the lock on those have been removed. You no longer need to be level 80, which again, awesome. So it doesn't change the number of times you can drop them per week, which for a reminder is once per week per world boss. So you get 3 per week. But they were up until now locked until at least cap level 80, and that's been removed, which is great. Developers note, we are currently working on increasing the monster and elite density of endgame content and plan to introduce this change early season 1. Okay. I think, like, this is hard to comment on because I don't really know what they mean. Like, we've got some spots where I feel like there is quite a few elites already, and I'm not sure if bringing more changes anything, like in terms of gameplay, as in, like, you're still gonna burst the entire group. So does that mean they're bringing more waves of elites, or all at once? I don't know. Let's see what they're gonna do in the future. That could be interesting. But again, clearly the point being to increase the XP you can get, which I feel here, now that we're talking about it, could actually be what they're going to implement once they put the experience down again, and they might increase the number of monsters to make sure that you have some kind of middle ground. Because obviously they're not going to go back to what it is today. That would be weird. But they're probably going to find something that's more balanced in the future. Talking about balance, let's do the balance changes. Developers note, we're continuing our efforts to make all class builds feel fun and powerful with another round of balance updates. In particular, we have seen community feedback stating that basic skills aren't impactful enough in combat. These changes will not change the fundamental relationship between basic skills and core skills, but we hope that they help smooth out the leveling experience while we explore additional ways to strengthen them. That's really important, and again, great from Blizzard to show that they actually care, because we need something to make the leveling experience more smooth, because right now it's feeling like an elongated chore that you do enjoy maybe the first few hours, and then it just feels like you're trying to push through it. So I think putting more focus on each spell and what they can do and how you play with them is going to bring a lot to the player experience, and I think that will give the grind of the farming phase more appeal, at least to players who are not used to this type of game. because obviously Diablo is bringing a new community of players, and we need to address their concerns as well, even if they're not the hardcore typical players for these types of games. So let's get into the character changes. Let's start with the Barbarian. Again, overall, you'll see it's all a buff in every character. They've all gotten buffed, nearly every spell, which is fun, interesting approach, but fun. They've been targeting nerfs a lot in the previous patches, so I feel like that could bring something, a good breath of fresh air. So let's see, so skills. Lunging Strike, base damage increased from 30 to 33, and Fury Generated increased from 9 to 10. So here, I think we're already trying to see what they're going to point out towards. They want to make the Barbarian more an engage and aggro type, rather than just like full damager. Because yes, the damage is increased, we do see the same thing, but you'll see that the damage in the other classes are far stronger than that. So like I feel like they're trying to maybe balance out the damage input coming from other classes versus Barbarian. So the Bash Fury Generated increased from 10 to 11, and hence Bash Fortify increased from 10 to 20. Frenzy base damage increased from 20 to 22, another increase. I mean, overall, it really feels like they're trying to smoothen out the way Barbarian is played and not make it such an explosive damager, but more something on the long run. Flay Bleeding base damage increased from 36 to 40, so again something that's going to damage, but in the long run, Fury Generated increased from 9 to 10, and hence Flay's vulnerable chance increased from 10 to 15. So similar comment, I guess. 36 to 40. So that's interesting because with the aspects, I think this could really bring some crazy damage increase. I'm thinking like multipliers. I don't know. We'll see in season 1 because I'm definitely re-rolling into a Barbarian. So I'll be interested to see how we can like use those new increases to play differently. But I'm really liking what I see. Again, kick cooldown reduced from 17 to 13 seconds. Base damage dealt to enemies knocked back into terrain increased from 54 to 70. So here again, I think this confirms what I'm explaining a bit earlier. Like they're trying to give different options. The point is no longer everyone will have the same build. We're slowly moving into this personalized approach that they want to do for Diablo 4. And I think here, what you'll see from kick and charge is that the point is to give you different branches, different options for your build, and different approach. Instead of just going for the whirlwind, you'll have different things you can do. So charge, enhanced charge base damage dealt to enemies knocked back into terrain increased from 15 to 30%. So as you can see, this is exactly what I said. So I'm realizing I skipped kick. So let's just go through it because it's the same comment for both. So cooldown reduced from 17 to 13, base damage dealt to enemies knocked back into terrain increased from 54 to 70. And here the same comment, but from 15 to 30. So here again, as I just said, we're enabling new options, new gameplay styles. Here you can play more with the hitting the wall approach, which was not really put forward in the previous versions of the Barbarian. Might leap slow increased from 50 to 70. So again, different options, different, like they're making the kit stronger depending what you want to focus on. Iron Skin, enhanced Iron Skin's barrier increased from 10 to 20% of maximum life. More tanky, more aggro, again, what we said at the start. Call of the Ancients, Prime Call of the Ancients bonus, attack speed increased from 10 to 20%. Iron Maelstrom, cooldown reduced from 60 to 45 seconds. Prime Iron Maelstrom bonus, critical strike chance and damage increased from 10 to 30 and from 20 to 40. So again, those are just like, it's really interesting to see. The fact that they will buff every single spell, it really gives you a full capacity of choice into where you want to go and how you want to build your character. Like, I'm pretty sure, like right now, you can build a Barbarian that has never been seen before, because those options are options that you didn't have before. So I think overall this is pretty great. Let's now jump into the legendary aspects. Below includes changes to flat damage legendary aspects. These effects scale with item power. For example, an 820 item power Bull Katos Earthquake increases from 1747 to 3004 to 2687 3717. So again, here Obviously, the point is to make the leveling more enjoyable, to make you discover your character the way you want to discover it. And then, late game, the increase is still there to make you feel better about your character, to feel the buff, but we're within reason, not changing too much from what we already had. So for Bulkados, Earthquake, Dust Devils, Wind Lasher, and Devilish, you basically have a strong increase in damage, usually early on, but also late game. So overall, very, very much confirming what we were saying. And then here for Iron Warrior, you will have a damage reduction increase from 1020 to 1525. Overall, this confirms the first point, which is you're going to be more tanky as a Barbarian overall. Items, Overkill damage increase, and Hellhammer flat damage increase. Overall, great updates for the Barbarian. I think that's going to make him much more capable, much more versatile, and overall flexible in terms of how you want to build him. So great news. Let's move on to the Druid now. So, Earth Spike, base damage increased from 16 to 17%, Spirit Generated increased from 10 to 11, and Fierce Earth Spike 45 increase from 4% to 8%. Interesting here. So I'm not a Druid specialist. I'm just going to do with what I know. So far, I would say Druids had two specific approaches, was either very tanky or very much DPS. So let's see what they're trying to do here. So we've got the base damage of Earth Spike, who goes up just a little. Same with the Spirit Generated, but the fortifies increase. So I guess like you're getting more tanky overall. Wind Shear base damage increased from 17 to 18. Spirit Generated increased from 12 to 13. Okay, Claw base damage increased from 20 to 22. Spirit Generated increased from 10 to 11, while Claw double attack chance increased from 10 to 15, and Fierce Claw base damage increased from 10 to 15. So I guess they're updating every form of the Druid, which probably confirms the approach they're doing for Barbarian, which here is interesting. I'm wondering if they did the same for every class. Like, it seems again that they're boosting every branch of the builds you can make. So probably putting Druid like much more in the center of the meta. We'll have to see how it goes. My brother is approaching level 80, I think, on his Druid, so I'll keep an eye on how the game is evolving. Okay, Mold base damage increased from 20 to 22%, Spirit Generated from 14 to 15, and hence Mold 45 increased from 2 to 3. So again, similar approach than to Claw. All aspects are increased. All aspects of the Druid, I mean. Lightning Storm, enhanced Lightning Storm duration from 4 to 6, and Primal Lightning Storm's chance to immobilize increased from 8 to 12. So here that's actually quite interesting. That's a very new approach, which I'm thinking could be really interesting in PvP, because the slow duration being 6% now, that's actually quite relevant. Well, it is even more in PvE, obviously, but can definitely be used in PvP. And then Primal Lightning Storm's chance to immobilize increased from 8 to 12. That's also very interesting, because since this is lasting 30% longer, the 4% increase here will probably bring some good results. Shred, third attack base damage increased from 60 to 70, and hence Shred healing increased from 1 to 2 of maximum life. Raging Shred base damage increased from 51 to 70, and Primal Shred bonus critical strike damage increased from 20 to 30. So again, similar. They're increasing every aspect so that like you're more flexible in terms of like what you want to choose, and you don't necessarily all end up playing the same thing. Wolves, cooldown reduced from 14 to 11. Ferocious Wolf Pack lucky hit chance increased from 10 to 40. Here I think the reason why they increased it, like buffed it so much, is because I think the spell itself was just not very used. We know Blizzard, like they tend to really boost the option that nobody's playing. And I don't remember seeing many Druids using that, so I'm thinking they really want to push it forward. Like, I mean, from 10 to 40, you don't have any other spell so far that has that much of an increase, even if it is just a lucky hit chance. Hurricane base damage increased from 97.5 to 134. That's crazy. That's interesting. So I guess this becomes a core skill for most builds. I don't know, we'll see. Rabies, base poisoning, damage increased from 53 to 76. That's to put forward elements, which I'm thinking maybe from season 1, maybe later, maybe season 2. I'm pretty sure resistance and element types will be put much more in the center of things. So this is probably in anticipation of that change. Cataclysm base damage increased from 52 to 64. Okay, not much to say here. I guess it's just an increase to make sure that those spells stay relevant. Lacerate, same thing, 60% increase. That's fine. It's a good increase, but it doesn't change too much, I guess. Petrify critical strike chain damage bonus increase from 25 to 30. Okay, similar answer. And here it's not so bad, I guess, because Pummel does a lot of damage already, if I recall. Passives: Bestial Rampage attack speed bonus increase from 20 to 25, and then damage bonus increase from 20 to 30. Okay, Nature's Fury, chance to cast a free spell increase from 20 to 30. Lupine Ferocity damage bonus increase from 60 to 70. So again, same. All aspects are being upped, so you have more choice. And then the legendary aspects: Rune Worker's Conduit, flat damage increase from 1 to 1.4, doesn't change much. Mangold chance to increase from 2030 to 3040. And Seismic Shift and Seismic Shift cooldown decrease from 2.5 1.5 to 2 to 1 seconds, and Blurred Beast damage increase from 6090 to 7000. I think that's interesting too. I feel like Druid was very complicated. I'm like, knowing Blizzard, I think Druid will be like a very much cared for type of class, and it felt like they didn't have the chance to do that yet, and it feels like that's clearly a hint at what's coming. Druid will definitely be much stronger. The increases are all relevant. Every side and every build you want to go for will now be at least closer to meta, and I think that's going to bring more players to the Druid class, which I think is great because we're just not seeing enough of them at the moment. Okay, so moving on to the Necromancer. So for the skills, we have Reap, base damage increase from 12 to 13%. Acolyte Reap's cooldown between corpses reduced from 5 to 4. So let's try straight away to dive into what they're trying to do here. The important part would be the Acolyte Reap's cooldown between corpses that is reduced, because that gives more strength to the corpses themselves. Because I feel like at the moment, Necromancer is not a bad class. It's just a very niche type of playing. It's a build, your buff, and this buff, or this tick, does some crazy damage once, and then you do it again, and then you do crazy damage. And I have a very good Necromancer in my clan, and he's been using a build, at least for most of his leveling, that has just recently ended his level 100, but he was using a build that actually one-shots basically any boss. So that was fun, but it's I don't think that's the way it's supposed to be played when Blizzard imagined the class, and I think they're going to try to change that a bit. So Decomposed, base damage increased from 30 to 33, base essence generated per second increased from 7 to 8, and corpses form frequency increased from 2.5 to 2. So see, again here, like, I think the point is going to be to give more space to corpses, to monsters that you can reanimate, etc. So we'll see if they address that, but I would think the lower in buffs or increases will be regarding the overpower builds that they're using right now, and that the stronger buffs will be for the rest of the Necromancer builds. So Hemorrhage, base damage increased from 25 to 27, essence generated increased from 8 to 9, Bone Splinters, base damage increased from 8 to 9, and essence generated increased from 6 to 7. Sever, initial base damage increased from 63 to 66, and Enhanced Servers, return base damage increased from 25 to 40. Here, those are probably spells that need to be used for other builds than the overpower ones, and I think it's nice to see them increase, at least here especially. I'm pretty sure those are in the current meta builds of the Necromancer, and I think you can see it through those small changes that are still trying to stay relevant by not, like, if they didn't update those stats, I think that it would have strongly nerfed the current meta classes, meta builds for Necromancer, but doing that make sure they stay relevant and you can keep your build, but those types of updates are changing the other sides and the other builds. So Bloodlance, Supernatural Bloodlance, overpower requirement reduced from 8 to 6 to cast. Bone Prison cooldown reduced from 20 to 18 seconds, and Dreadful Bone Prison's Fortify increased from 5 to 8%. Iron Maiden base damage increased from 10 to 20%, and Horrid Iron Maiden damage bonus increased from 15 to 20%. And Corpse Tendrils, Blight Corpse Tendrils chance to spawn a Blood Orb increased from 30 to 35%. And we have the Bone Spikes, whose base damage increased from 80 to 120%, which is crazy. I'm thinking that we're still going to see some crazy updates in the damage that the Necromancers can do, at least in one hit. So that's going to be another interesting phase for this class, but let's see. And then the Raised Skeleton and Golem minions will now always engage targets with a cast curse. Interesting. So that's confirming what I was saying earlier, which is that they're really going to buff the Raise the Dead aspect of the Necromancer, which is great because we're not seeing any of them right now. They're just not meta at all. Passives, Callan's Edict, damage taken duration requirement reduced from 3 to 2. Wrathmass Vigor, healthy duration requirement reduced from 15 to 12 seconds. Spiked Armor, Thorns increased from... Legendary Aspects, Burst in Bone, flat damage increased from... I just don't want to read that, guys. That's a horrible number to read, and you have eyes. Flesh Rending, Essence gained increased from 1020 to 2040, and Fast Blood Ultimate cooldown reduced increased from 0.5 to 1 to 1 to 1.5 seconds. Interesting. But overall, yeah, I think that we put the finger on it. They're trying to give more options to the Necromancer in terms of the Raise the Dead aspect of things. So good. Overall, really good. Now Rogue. Now I'm really curious about what they're going to be doing for Rogue, because Rogue feels so OP right now. I'm really curious. So let's see. Invigorating Strike, base damage increased from 23 to 25%. Blade Shift, base damage from 15 to 16. Heartseeker, base damage from 22 to 24. And primary Heartseeker damage increased from 30 to 75. Okay, so like a really like more assassin type of approach, I guess, which seems to be what Blizzard goes for rogues usually. So okay. Forceful Arrow, base damage from 20 to 22. Barrage from 20 to 22. Caltrops, Methodical Caltrops Chill increased from 20 to 25. Okay, Smoke Grenade cooldown reduced from 15 to 13. That's interesting because if I'm not wrong, they have aspects to lower that, and I felt like it was already pretty crazy. Maybe I'm wrong. Rain of Arrows, cooldown reduced from 60 to 55. Prime Rain of Arrows, imbuement potency increased from 20 to 30%. Okay. Volley, base damage increased from 70 to 105. Okay, so that's like the new type of build you can make. Passives, close quarter combats, damage bonus increased from 20 to 30%. And then for legendary aspects, Escape Artist, cooldown decreased from 100 to 45. Okay. I'm not sure what that aspect does, so I would have to check it out. Umbrus, lucky hit chance to gain a Dark Shroud increased from 30, 50 to 40, 60. I'm not sure if that's very relevant. Okay. Items, Eyes in the Dark, increased Death Trap cooldown reduced from 30, 15 to 20, 15. Okay, great. And now for Sorcerers, my personal main and favorite. So let's see, the Sorcerer, for the skills, we've got the Spark. I'm hoping, I'm going to say it outright, I'm hoping they're changing the approach to lightning builds because they're too far lagging behind and something needs to be changed. So I'm happy to see Spark straight away. So let's see. So base damage increased from 8 to 10, enhanced Spark damage increased from 5.6 to 7, and Flickering Spark chance increased from 3 to 4. That's awesome. Straight away. Crossbolt, base damage increased from 35 to 38, doesn't change much. Firebolt increased 40 to 44. That's great because you have lots of aspects that increase burning damage or multipliers for enemies who are burning. Okay, Charge Bolt, base damage increased from 28 to 30, not sure it changes much either. Incinerate, base damage increased from 49 to 54. Good, because this spell could be great, but right now it's just, at least until now I wasn't doing enough. Unless you really had the aspect, but still I think it's too complicated to stay still and still be relevant in terms of DPS. So let's see. Enhance Incinerate, damage increased from 15 to 25%. Greater Incinerate, Immobilize requirement reduced from 4 to 3 seconds. Okay, good. Fireball mana cost decreased from 40 to 35. Good, because that spell sucks and it was just too expensive. Still sucks. I would still not use it. Like, except if you're leveling, maybe, but in anything endgame or close to endgame should not include the fireball. Frozen Orb initial base damage increased from 32 to 36. Explosion base damage increased from 29 to 34, and greater Frozen Orb chance to apply vulnerable increased from 25 to 30. That's great because the fact that the Frozen Orb moves makes it very unreliable, and I think like unless you have some really upscale damage, this is just not usable. So we'll see. Interesting to see some buff. I'm not sure if it's enough, but I'll give it a try for sure. Blizzard base damage increased from 120 to 130. So this, I've literally just went from a full Blizzard build to a more endgame type Frost build. So I'm a bit sad to see it right now. But to be entirely true, I'm not sure what this brings, because what I played the Blizzard for is more the chill effect rather than the damage itself, because once they're frozen, they're just going to basically crack whatever you're doing. So I'm not sure if the damage of the rain itself brings much, but I mean, it's still to take, why not? Ice Blades, chance to apply vulnerable, increased from 30 to 40. I still think that's quite low. It should be 50, because this spell is not going to be useful, definitely not endgame, if you can't at least confirm a quick vulnerable injection. So I don't know, good, it's going the right way, but still not there in my opinion. Lightning Spear, summon Lightning Spear's maximum damage bonus increased from 100 to 160, great. Crackling Energy base damage increased from 15 to 20. I think it's what we were hoping for, like most of the lightning spells are really being upped consequently, which should have some nice effects, so we'll see. Freezing Wake base damage increased from 60 to 110. Okay, good. Legendary Aspects, Abundant Energy, chance to chain to an additional enemy increased from 20-30 to 30-40. Okay, so they're also attacking the electric builds, or at least the aspects for those, so that's interesting. Singed Extremities, slow amount increased from 25-35 to 40-60, that's really nice. Incendiary, chance to restore mana increased from 5-10 to 12-17. Snow Guard's damage reduction increased from 10-15 to 20-25. And Concentration mana regeneration increased from 10-20 to 20-30. Those two are really nice because I feel like, considering how mana is important for the sorcerer builds, there isn't enough ways to generate mana, like, unless you really put your focus on it, and that's what's like building the end game builds for sorcerer right now. It's just cooldown reduction, mana cost reduction, and then you just pump in some critical strike chance. And I don't think like that's the most fun way to play, and even doesn't exploit the graphics around the sorcerer builds or class as a whole. So I think it's great to see some changes going in there. And then for items, Flame Scar flat damage increased from 0.1 to 2 to 0.2 to 0.3. And Staff of Lam Essen, damage reduction reduced from 40-30 to 35-25. Okay, so overall, as you can see, like all those are so overall, awesome, as you can see, like all those, as I said before, I'm just not awesome changes. Those, as I said before, because there are so many of those modifications, because there are so many for you guys. It's just but I strongly advise to run through them because they are really interesting. I strongly advise to run through them because they are really interesting. They've really heard and listened to what we have here. I hope you guys are too. I'll be posting a new video probably tomorrow, or I'll be a couple of days at the worst, but I hope you had fun today. I hope you're happy about those changes, like they're clearly listening to us, so like keep giving them feedback. It's obviously having an effect. Thank you for watching the video. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.